My particular kidney disease causes the cholesterol to be raised in a person, and my doctor was keeping a very close eye on my cholesterol numbers. In November of 2006, he suddenly discovered that my cholesterol numbers had jumped quite drastically and was trying to decide which kind of medication to put me on for the cholesterol. Only 2 weeks later, on December 4th of 2006, was when my heart attack happened. It actually was a beautiful morning, and I felt great that morning. It was a nice winter morning, and I had gone down to some friends and played with their children and feeling good. Decided to take a ride to an art store to pick up some art supplies because at the time I was a self-employed artist. I got down to the store and I suddenly had some pressure in my eyes, which seemed kind of weird, but then I was on a short dose of prednisone at the time, and that can do that. On the way down to the art store, I had actually stopped and gotten some lunch, which was a piece of pizza with pepperoni on it, which I don't usually eat. Well, once I was in the store, I started feeling indigestion, and I blamed it on the pepperoni. I got very uncomfortable and decided I should head home. It was about a 45-minute drive home. And once I was almost home and still feeling this indigestion, I decided, okay, maybe some cream soup will help me. So I stopped, picked up some cream soup, and that didn't seem to help. I got home, and it was like a heartburn, indigestion, and again, I just kept blaming it on the pepperoni I'd eaten. I went to my allergist that I had an appointment with that day, and I told him that, I'd been feeling really uncomfortable, and I had this heartburn all day, and he immediately said, well, that's probably the prednisone I had you on. Let me give you some Nexium. So he handed me some Nexium, I took it, and I went home. About an hour and a half later, still feeling very uncomfortable and laying in bed, I suddenly got very nauseous and I got sick to my stomach. And that's something that's very rare for me. I very rarely ever get sick to my stomach. And at that point, something back in my mind reminded me that that is actually a sign of heart attacks in women. And that's when I decided I was probably in trouble. I called my neighbor and asked her if she would take me to the hospital, and she, of course, said, no, I'm calling 911. The ambulance came, and, the guys were taking my vitals, and the whole time I'm still in a denial, really, that was this just indigestion. I'm wasting their time. And they gave me some, I think it was probably epinephrine or one of those, and they gave me aspirin and nitroglycerin. And of course that eased some of the pain. And I just kept apologizing. I'm sorry, guys, I'm just really wasting your time. And they said, no, you're not. They took me to the ER. And while I was in the ER, there's all these doctors around me. And, by this time they'd given me some morphine as well. And again, I was feeling better, started apologizing again. And I asked one of the doctors, I said, well, there must still really be something going on here because there's a lot of doctors in here. And he said, yeah, we wouldn't be wasting time with a person who didn't need us. They left the room for a few minutes, and that was probably when the worst of my heart attack hit. My friend had shown up, and she was with me, and the pain was in my back, like so severe. I just literally came off the table, and I felt like my right arm was going to explode. And she ran and got the doctors, and they came in and they explained that they were trying to get an ambulance for me, an air ambulance, a helicopter, because by this time there was a snowstorm out and they weren't taking any ambulances by road, and they needed to send me downtown to Cleveland because where I was didn't do stents at the time. So they did end up airlifting me, took me downtown. I was immediately taken into an operating room, and they did catheterization and angioplasty, and they put a stent in. My left ascending aorta was 95% blocked, And what had happened is that the plaque had ruptured, and that had blocked it the rest of the way. And that is actually the main artery. So this is why I was in danger there. I had never thought that at the age of 45, I would have a heart attack. And if it hadn't been for something that I had learned a long time ago about symptoms in women and how a heart attack can quite often be a different representation. You see on TV and in movies, people clutch their heart and they fall down. And that's not necessarily what it is. Obviously, I went hours denying that it was a heart attack until I got sick. And that's when I realized I needed to listen. So one of the things that's really important is for, I think, people to know all of the symptoms that a heart attack, not everybody has the same symptoms. My brother had a heart attack at 47, and his was a massive coronary. He had gone to the doctor, they did an EKG, and his EKG was normal. The doctor said, well, let's take some blood tests, walked him over to the hospital, and he had his massive coronary right there. Fortunately, he survived. So again, symptoms are different in people. And I'm going to list the different symptoms, and the first one really is the chest pain. I mean, most people will feel a chest pain, a pressure. Another one is the radiating pain to the left arm. Neck and jaw pain on the left side. One of the earliest signs, and this can start weeks to months before a heart attack, is fatigue and lethargy. Dizziness and lightheadedness, usually in conjunction with some of the other symptoms. Irregular heartbeat. Shortness of breath in the weeks prior. Nausea, vomiting, and indigestion, and other GI upsets, and that is most common in women. Less common and mostly in women is also the back pain, which is mid to upper back. And finally, cold sweats right in the minutes before the heart attack. So as you can see, there are a lot of different symptoms, and we all should really know our numbers, know our body, and know when something really feels wrong and really feels different. And one thing I learned was, don't apologize. If you feel like you need to call 911, don't apologize for it, because if you know your body well and these symptoms are there, you really need to have it checked. I'm glad I did.